Hello, I am Arthur Malman, your host for this segment of GGG Insights, a program brought to you by the East Hampton Group for Good Government, a local, nonpartisan civic group focusing on matters of interest to residents of East Hampton. It's government, it's villages, it's schools, and so forth. Tonight, we're having a debate among the five candidates for two seats on the East Hampton Village Board. They are, alphabetically, David Driscoll, Ray Harden, Richard Lawler, Sandra Melendez, and Chris Minardi. We have, for those of you who haven't yet downloaded it, a debate brochure, which I would suggest if you have an opportunity, either during the debate or after, to download it. It's also on our East Hampton Group for Good Government website. It has a lot of information about our debate procedures. It has also, probably more importantly, how you get absentee ballots and vote in the village election, which is not the same as how you vote in the national, federal, or state elections. And it has, probably most importantly, a section of 2 pages written by each of the candidates telling you their backgrounds and their thoughts about the future of East Hampton. It also has, at the very end, a vision statement that is currently, besides being in the brochure, on the village's website. And our first question will be about that vision statement and changes that some of the candidates think should be made in it. The GGG has shared with the candidates the first question about the vision statement, which, by the way, is a similar question to the one we had earlier in an East Hampton Village Mayor debate. But all the other questions are totally unrehearsed and spontaneous. Each candidate will have initially 1 minute to introduce themselves, and then we'll start the questions. And each candidate will be afforded the opportunity to answer each of the questions. And we'll go in order, starting with a different candidate for each question. But every candidate will have the same, up to 1 minute to answer each question. And believe me, if any candidate wants to agree with something that somebody else said before that, that is perfectly all right. If you answer in 10 seconds, you will get the undying gratitude of half of our listeners. After each candidate has had the opportunity to answer each of the questions, we'll have an optional 30 seconds available for any candidate who thinks they need the time to either elaborate on an answer they gave, rebut something somebody else said, or for that matter, not even make use of the segment. And then at the very end, we'll have 1 minute for each of the candidates to sum up. And as they're getting close to their end of their allotted time, we're going to have this very high-tech sign, which I think I've even got upside down, which says 10 seconds remaining. And if they happen to see me, fine. I'm not going to cut them off in mid-sentence, but if they drone on, I will cut them off. And hopefully if I drone on, everybody will cut me off. In any event, let's get started, and we'll do this in alphabetical order. Dave, if you put your mic on and just give us a background on yourself.
Okay, Dave Driscoll, good evening. Thank you, Arthur. I've spent summers and holidays here since 1959 and worked summer jobs at the Maidstone Club, the Hunting Inn, and the Chowder Bowl at Main Beach. I took over and ran the Chowder Bowl from 1983 to 2014. All told, I was up at Main Beach for close to 50 years. In between, I worked 38 years in the NYPD, close to 20 in its executive ranks. I have a bachelor's in sociology from Xavier University. I also have extensive training and experience in management and public leadership. I completed a leadership and management program at the FBI National Academy and the National Preparedness Leadership Initiative program at Harvard University. I have put that training to good work. I led the NYPD recovery efforts at Flight 1549, which was Sully's plane on the Hudson. And I led the NYPD rescue and evacuation efforts at Breezy Point during the height of Superstorm Sandy. That's a tongue twister. I procured and managed $34 million in Homeland Security grants as commanding officer of the Harbor Unit. I bought our family home in the village 6 years ago and retired from the NYPD 3 years ago. I think I have the training.
I'm sorry.
One sentence.
One sentence. Go ahead, Dave.
I think I have the training and experience to add value as a trustee and would love to continue my life as public service as a member of the board. Thank you. Thank you, Arthur.
Sure. Ray?
Okay, for those of you who do not know me, Ray Harden. I've lived in East Hampton for 55 years, moved here when I was 2. I'm one of 7. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Went to Moseley Trinity School. From there, I went on to Mercy High School in Riverhead. After graduating Mercy, I stayed back in East Hampton and started working. Started out in construction, then worked for Riverhead Building Supply, where I did pretty much every position there: a yard man, a driver, counter person, outside sales, and then finally management. Left the Riverhead Building Supply in East Hampton in 2000, went to work for Sam Pebble Builders for 2 years, and then on to Ben Krapinski Builder, where I presently work now, and I am co-owner of the business with my business partner, Stratton Skellinger.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. Rick? Oh, you got to unmute. You got to unmute.
Already, I'm making a mistake. Thanks very much, Arthur, for having us, and thanks to Group for Good Government and LTV for putting on the debate, and just welcome to all my fellow candidates. Basically, I lived my whole life in East Hampton. Started my public career with East Hampton Town. Shortly after that, I was recruited by Suffolk County Police, where I served 35 years with them. I was supervisor of a specialized unit that handled only serious felony cases. I then went to missing persons unit. From there, I supervised the kidnapping team. And from there, I supervised a team in the Narcotics Bureau, specifically the East End Drug Task Force, which handles all the major drug cases here on the 5 East End towns. I also, while I was with my specialized team, was assigned to assist federal authorities with the Flight 800 crash off of East Mauritius. So that, coupled with that experience, coupled with other experience with major investigations and disasters, I think qualifies me to help lead the village into the future.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
We're tough, I'll tell you.
Okay, I guess so.
Okay, Sandra?
Good evening, everyone, and thanks to the GGE for this opportunity. I'm Sandra Melendez. I was born in Puerto Rico, and I moved to East Hampton in 2007. I'm a wife and the mother of 4 amazing children. I graduated with a dual major of business administration and accounting. I obtained a Juris Doctor from the Inter-American University and a master's in tax law from Georgetown. I established my law practice here in the village of East Hampton, where I provide services for immigration, criminal, family, and tax law. I believe I'm a great candidate because I'm passionate about the village of East Hampton. Though I was not born here, I chose to live here. My oldest son and my daughter graduated from East Hampton High School, and my youngest 2 are still in the East Hampton district. Every day I work trying to find solutions for my clients. I apply laws and regulations to find the best solutions for the issues. I'm eager to start working and help update the village and the village code to make it more friendly. Thank you,
Sandra. Chris?
Oh, hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Minardi, and I'm born and raised here in East Hampton my entire life. I graduated with a marketing and finance degree from the University of Massachusetts. A little fact is, when I went to elementary school, my mother-in-law was one of my teachers here in John Marshall. So that's a really exciting thing that I'm proud of. Once graduating college, I started with the Manhattan Mortgage Company, and I worked up to be the director. After that, for the past 5 years, I've been the sales director at New York Title Abstracts, located here in Bridgehampton. I think I'd be a great candidate for Village Board. I love East Hampton with all my heart. I really believe that I can add some youth and energy to a board and work well with everybody. So thank you.
Chris, thank you. Before we start our questions, I'm going to try and say this in the right way. And Rick and Ray, if I screw it up, please tell me. Rick and Ray are both incumbents. Rick is the mayor of East Hampton, having been the deputy mayor when Paul Rickenbach, who had been mayor for many, many years, retired around the first of the year. Rick became mayor, although now he's running for trustee. And when Rick vacated his seat to become mayor, Ray was appointed to fill Rick's unexpired seat. I've tried to say that at least 10 times today to make sure I didn't screw it up too badly, and I hope I get the general idea across. And with that, let's start our questions, and we're going to start with Chris, who gave his bio last. And this one, as I said before, this is the only question that we've shared in advance with the candidates. And you can find the vision statement that we're talking about either in the back of our brochure here that's available to be downloaded, or you can go right to the village's website to see the vision statement. It's too long to read now. I timed this, it takes about 2.5 minutes. In any event, what we've asked each of the candidates to do as our first question is to either update the vision statement that was done several years ago, or tell us that they're happy with it and they don't think it needs anything to be updated. And we'll start with, as I said, with Chris.
All right. Hi. As per the vision statement, I believe that it's very well crafted. I've read it multiple times. It's well written, and I think it encapsulates a very positive outlook on East Hampton Village. I agree with most everything that's in there, so I don't really have all that much to say. I would question the fact of one aspect says that the village will not create any new parking at all. And the other thing is I don't think the vision statement was tailored towards second homeowners or visitors of East Hampton. But overall, I think it's a good statement and very well crafted. And I commend the board to however they put this together. It's very nice.
Sandra?
Yes, I agree with Chris, even though I would change the part where it says that tourists are threats. I think they could be an asset to the community. They can help our businesses thrive and spread the word of the beauty of East Hampton. Other than that, I feel like it's a well-written vision statement.
Rick?
Just a little bit of background. This statement was crafted as part of the comprehensive plan, which was done in 2002, which was crafted with the help of private agency, the village, government, and residents. I think it pretty much sums up what village residents wanted at that time, and I think still want to a certain degree. If I had to change anything, of course, it would be first publicly vetted in public hearings, but I think I would add sewage, water quality, and traffic, along with parking. I would add something in about those three things.
Great. Ray?
I agree with Rick. I think the same thing, that the sewage treatment is a big issue, and it's going to lead to more wet uses in the village if we can get it going. Parking, again, we're working on the license plate reader, so that should help ease the tension there. And we're also working. We set up a task force to work on traffic. So hopefully something's going to be coming from that.
And David, you have a last shot. You got to unmute. Oh, you got to unmute.
I'm sorry. So the perennial issue seems to be parking, and I'm going to take a little bit of a contrary view. I think we need to plan for the norm and not the exception. At this point, I agree with the vision statement that I'm not in favor of creating additional parking in the commercial core. I think it's time to take measure of exactly where we're at, and we got two new developments coming down the pike. One is the software-based parking enforcement system that will allow us to pinpoint when parking demand exceeds availability and how often. It was help us understand the extent of the problem. Is it a handful of days, or is it throughout the season and throughout the hours? That will help us guide the way forward. Also, the engineers from Nelson and Pope, as part of our commercial revitalization plan, are going to do a comprehensive parking study with recommendations. So for now, I would await the results of that analysis before we figure out what we're going to do moving forward.
Okay. Now, does anybody have anything to say, rebuttal or clarification? Or if not, we can move on to our next question. Okay. Our next question is about the usual Airbnb problems. Our village code allows homeowners to rent their residences for no more than 2 periods of 2 weeks each during the year. Homeowners using Airbnb or VRBO are renting their houses for multiple weekends. That is, some homeowners, often to groups who have loud parties and lots of guests. How much would you have the village spend? This is a very exact question. How much would you have the village spend to monitor these websites? And how much would you fine offenders? And would you possibly try to get tenants to move out who breach these rules? Sandra?
In regards of the fines, I think the problem with Airbnb, it's mostly a problem of enforcement. I'm way in favor of fines. I do believe that the enforcement needs to be done. We can have people come here and follow the code, but the Airbnb is creating or damaging the businesses for the inns. It doesn't create enough business for the restaurants, and it just creates a nuisance for the neighbors. I think we should start, like always, with some type of small fine, but as the violations go and get bigger, I guess the fines should get bigger too.
Thank you. Richard? Rick?
Yeah, well, in fact, we've been looking at this situation with the Airbnbs. The problem with what's happened with Airbnbs is it's beginning to turn some of our residential areas into, at least some of the houses in those areas, into a commercial enterprise. So that is deleterious to our residential neighborhoods. So it's very important that we do something about it. And in fact, we're beginning to look at companies that can track the amount of short-term rentals via whatever website it is that they use, and then kind of map out for us where the problem areas are. And I think that the code that we have now is sufficient to enforce it. We just need stricter penalties, and we'll be talking about that in the near future.
Right?
I agree. We need stiffer penalties for repeat offenders. It certainly brings a lot more traffic. Because people aren't just, renting it for themselves and their 2 kids. They're having friends out, which brings more cars and just more people around. So it's just more congested. So we need to really crack down on it.
David?
I agree. It's a major quality of life issue. It may merit a dedicated code, but if we're going to use the existing code, I think in order to have a starting point for enforcement, and enforcement is the key on a lot of these issues. If you can't enforce it, it's worth nothing. So, I think we should tweak the current code and put in a requirement of a simple notice to the village hall, to probably code enforcement, of the 2-week periods that we expect the residents to be occupied with VRBO guests. This gives us at least some kind of point to start with where if we start getting a number of complaints that there are guests there outside of the periods that are on that notice, we have the authority to knock on the door and ask a simple question. And enforcement goes a long way. It very, very quickly, people start complying when they know there's a penalty to pay.
Chris? Chris?
Hi. This is a great topic because I have one of those houses right next door to me. And I've complained about it. So again, I'm going to agree with Dave to an extent on this, that I believe it's code enforcement. And the one thing that, bothers me is that I can go onto these websites right now and search in Village and find the houses. They're right out there. We all can do it. We can all go on the computer and find the houses that are in violation. And the people that rent and the owners actually write comments on, oh, your house is great this weekend. Thank you so much. The next person stays there. They get comments and feedback. So it's not hard to look at these websites just as an average person and find out exactly which houses are violating the issues. And you can compare that to some of the complaints that you get throughout the neighborhood. So I think that it's got a lot to do with code enforcement. And I also think that the fines have to be strict enough and heavy enough to make people stop.
I didn't cut you off, Chris, but somehow you sounded out. Does anybody have any rebuttal or clarification? If not, we can move on to the next question. And this one refers to the rents of local businesses. Rick, everyone's in favor of affordable rents for local businesses that would stay open, especially those that would stay open year-round. However, as a practical matter, free market rents for the village stores are notoriously high, and many stores close after Labor Day. How can you change this?
Well, that's a good question, and it's a difficult question. We've been wrestling with that for quite some time. And let me just say this. It is not government's function to regulate rents. And I know other communities have tried to do it, and I think some communities have been successful forming some sort of organization that takes donations to kind of offset rents for their businesses. That has not been talked about here. So it's a very difficult situation, and we've done what we can to try to help our businesses here, particularly through this COVID crisis, in relaxing some of our regulations. And I think that maybe that's the way to go for the future, but not to overdo it. We don't want this to become Coney Island or anything like that, but we would, I think, do well to relax some of our regulations so that make it easier for businesses to attract customers.
Ray?
Right. It is a very tough thing to try and address. The people that own the buildings, I mean, they have a right to make some money on the rent. That's they own it. They can rent it for what they want. Could it be a great thing if they would lower the rents and you would get people that would open businesses year round? Absolutely. The businesses that are opening are doing it for the few months and then they're closing up shop. A lot of people today are also ordering online. That's a big thing. A lot of people don't even go shopping. It's all done online. So it's a very tricky thing to try and work out.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with what's been said so far. It's a private enterprise. It's a free market capitalism, and government is a little bit hamstrung with trying to manage that, and perhaps they shouldn't be managing that. If people are willing to pay, and that's the way it is. Somebody was saying about shopping from home. If at some point there's going to be a tipping point where people are not willing to pay the high rents. And at that point, once the rents start coming down, then we might see a different dynamic in the village.
Thank you. Chris?
So I'm going to go along the same lines as we cannot force these landlords to charge anything more than what they want to. However, I would like to say that the village has an obligation to support these store owners and the landlords to do everything we can possible to listen to their needs, to work with them so that we can put our best foot forward to allowing more foot traffic to support these stores, whether it be parking, the sewer treatment. We can open up some wet spaces once that happens and get more foot traffic into the village, fix the parking or modify it to at least give the villages the best chance they can to make some money. And hopefully that will trickle down to more stores opening, more year-round stores opening, and give us just our best foot forward. Because again, that's all we can do, but I think we can do a better job.
Thanks, Chris. Sandra?
I agree with Chris in that we should help the businesses or the owners. I also think that we could incentivize in some ways, trying to relax the code or allowing this business to put some type of division so it creates a lower rent for some people. I even had the idea of talking to the owners instead of having an empty storefront, try to talk to the local artists so they can put their paintings or their art, so we don't have empty storefronts during the off season. So there's different ways to create a better village. It doesn't need to be just lower the rent. Let's help them. Let's make the village prettier, even if it's with an empty place that we're helping the local community, the local artists, or the residents. We also have a concept about creating mom and pop shops and low housing, low affordable housing, so we can try to get that done if the sewer system gets done.
Thank you. The next question is
Arthur, could I just rebut for one?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
I kind of agree with what's been said, and I just want to say that we already are doing those things. We already have a situation where high school and artists post their art in store windows. That will have it. In the beginning, it was not real successful. Only 1 or 2 stores did it. Now, if you go down Main Street anytime in the wintertime, you'll see maybe 1 store that doesn't have some kind of art in it. So that's been a great success for not having empty storefronts. Also, we are in the process of modifying our parking through the new parking system that we just purchased and will be in effect in about a month in order to regulate parking a little bit better. And we have relaxed code. Okay. So
I've got to cut you off.
Okay.
Sorry. Our next question is about basically chemistry, and it's nitrogen. Sitting behind Sandra is Hook Pond, which is one of the ponds that have problems from all of us. High nitrogen fertilizers keep lawns green all summer, but their runoff pollutes our ponds. If we pass laws prohibiting these sales of nitrogen fertilizers at local stores, homeowners and landscapers will just buy the products elsewhere or order it online from Amazon or someplace. How are we going to solve this nitrogen overloading problem? Ray, do you want to start?
Sure. I mean, just like you said, it's going to be tough to police people buying the chemicals and stuff from other places and using it on their properties. You just don't have enough workforce to go around and govern that. We can do stuff on our end that will help with the nitrogen, which the village has already done with the bioswale that was done down by St. Luke's Church from the flagpole, which looks great when it's flowering. Another thing is, the Phragmites are choking the pond. And I sat on the ZBA, and pretty much every ZBA application gets passed for the Phragmites. Because they're really choking down the pond. So the stuff that we can do, but as far as people bringing stuff from outside, that's going to be a hard thing to police.
Dave? Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, so a couple of things. We can only control or have an impact on what we can do, and I agree with Ray to a large extent. A couple of additional things, though. I think the village should incrementally, across fiscal years, start converting their old septic systems to IA. Certainly at the beaches, and in the village. You know, we got to lead the way, and we should set an example. Also, we should, I don't know if it's been passed yet, but new commercial enterprises should also be forced to put in IA. Wastewater treatment plant is critical to the long-term pond and water health. And Phragmites, Larry Penny back in 2001 said that was the largest danger there is. And that's something that needs a programmatic attention.
Thanks, Dave. Chris?
Hi. Again, I agree with a lot of what people said. You know, the one thought that I've always had from sitting on a ZBA for 10 years would be maybe introduce some mitigation to people asking for a variance. You know, there's a really great time to go after some of these people and residents when they're asking for relief to try and slip in some type of low nitrogen protocols for their house. I also think that we could put a slightly better education spin out there. I mean, some people just don't know. You go to the hardware store, you buy your Scotts 1, 2, 3, and you put it on your lawn. Where whether it be mailings, emails, any type of education, where there are people out there that care, but maybe they just don't know. And my last point is that, you know, everything in the village leads back to the pond. So wherever you flush your toilet at your house, it goes to the village. It all ends up in town pond. So again, the sewer system in the village might be a really great idea, not just to help out the traffic and the septic in the village, but it will also help the ponds as well and the water quality, because that water will not be filtering back into the ponds.
Thanks, Chris. Sandra?
I agree with Chris. Everything he said, especially the waste management system, it will help our ponds. Also, some type of incentives or education for the people to know what to use, what not to use. I think enforcement is not the way to go. We only have three code enforcement officers, and it's going to be really hard to go after anybody.
Well, thanks, Sandra. Rick?
Yeah, I agree pretty much with what everybody has said so far, but I just want to say that we're doing many of these things already. We are leading by example. We've just approved an IA system for the bathroom that's at Herrick Park, which will be installed very shortly. We just okayed an IA system for one of the businesses on Main Street. Then that's going to be installed shortly. All of these things have been in process. And unfortunately, some of my friends here tonight think that the government moves, you know, at the speed of light. It doesn't happen that way. There are a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot before you get to the stage where things get done. But we've been moving steadily towards all of these things. As Ray said, the bioswale, we also have installed specialized filters in our street drains so that when they drain into the pond, many of these contaminants are drained out. So we've already started and done many of these things.
Thanks, Rick. I'm sorry. Our next question is really a long question, but it's also been a long problem, and that is airport noise over the village. And I'm not sure there's any quick solution or any solution. Many residents reimagine East Hampton Airport operating with some single-engine planes flown by hobbyists on weekends, and a place for landing emergency supplies and evacuating injured people during storms. However, that's not the reality. The reality is that shared helicopter use on Blade and other carriers will surely surge again after COVID-19 social distancing concerns subside. Secondly, even after grant assurances expire in 2021, the FAA will really not permit the town to limit operations. And finally, after a storm, the South Fork Emergency Plan, supported by the town, just uses the East Hampton Airport as a parking lot for PSEG trucks, generators, and trailers, with flight operations back in West Hampton. When there are only two choices, will you vote to keep the airport open, or will you vote to close the airport, and why? Dave, do you want to start this? Maybe you don't want to start this, but you may.
No, I'll start it. So I'm not for closing the airport, just to get to the bottom line, but I think the airport provides the village with a lot of jobs, and not only on-site jobs, but on those service industries that service the airport. So, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know it's a significant amount in our economy. In addition to that, the airport is in minutes away from the village, and it's in the town. And if we ever had a human triggered event or a natural disaster, that would be the staging place to get equipment, personnel in, and to medevac people out. That's something that's easy to forget when everything's great, but you'd surely miss that. And I don't know that I agree with the premise of the question that once the federal grant restrictions expire, that it's not going to provide the town with more leverage. My understanding is that it will, because the town could say, hey, we're going to close, play ball, we're going to close the airport, which the powers that be do not want. So that's how I look at this.
Chris?
Oh, all right. So I am in favor of keeping the airport open. I support the airport. I think that when we talk about flight plans, working with the town, there's got to be a committee, or there's got to be an open avenue to try and have our voices heard on managing the flight paths of the helicopters and the airplanes. And I agree with Dave to an extent, where the economics of the airport, they play into East Hampton's village, where a lot of the benefits from wealthy people that use the airport and decide to call East Hampton their home trickle down all the way to the electrician and the gardener and the landscaper and the contractor, the home watcher, and the attorney that work here and that can afford to be here in East Hampton. So I think that there is a way to try and manage the best we can and make it the best we can for our residents. But I am in favor of keeping the airport open if I had a yes or a no answer.
No. Sandra?
Yes, I am in favor of keeping the airport too, for the jobs, for the lifeline, for everything that represents the airport. Having the airport is good for the village residents also. Most of our residents are second home owners, and they do use the airport frequently to get back and to the city for work. And if there's an emergency, I would like to keep the airport always open. Yes.
Rick?
Yeah, I too am in favor of keeping the airport open, but I do think we need more and more restrictive guidelines for its use. I happen to live right in the line of runway 28, so I get the jets flying right over my house quite often. And sometimes, as I'm sitting in my living room, it almost seems as if they're going to land right in my living room. They're so low. So I would like to see some more restrictions. I would like to see, instead of a voluntary curfew, a mandatory curfew, things like that. And I think that I agree with Dave. I think that once the federal requirements are eased in 2021, I think that we can accomplish some of these things.
Great, thank you. Let's see.
It's me.
Ray? I'm sorry.
Here I am. I agree. I would like to see the airport open. It brings a lot of money to this community. The people that are flying in on those planes are spending money in the village. They're hiring on, like I believe Chris said, electricians, plumbers, people that mow their lawn. It's just a trickle down. So we need those planes to keep coming in. I agree with Rick that maybe, a curfew should be set up so they can only come to a certain time. I also, like Rick, we're neighbors. So they're flying over my house on a regular basis too. And sometimes I actually like going out and watching them fly over, because next one's bigger than the last.
Okay. So I think if we had a vote, everybody would vote to keep the airport open.
Yes.
Okay. Bad news for some people. Good news for other people. Okay, the next is really probably for younger people. I'm too old for this kind of stuff. Chris, you go first, and are you in favor of a more robust nightlife in the village, and how would you achieve it?
Well, I think I am the youngest one here. But no, I am not in favor of a better nightlife. You know, East Hampton Village is not a nightlife setting. If you walk down Main Street on any given Friday or Saturday in the summer, unfortunately, it's not the way I remember as growing up, with a couple more restaurants and a couple more bars with active people walking around the village. It's not that way anymore. But I don't think you can really put nightlife in the village. I mean, you go out to dinner in East Hampton, people might frequent the bar crowd, whether it be a Cheetah or Rowdy or Sam's. But other than that, I don't think that there is a place for nightlife and gatherings of things like that would cause noise and excess parking. I don't even know where you would put that right now, but the extent of going out to dinner and enjoying your dinner and maybe staying a little later, that nightlife is fine. Maybe the inns could have a little bit of nightlife when it comes to a piano bar, things like that. But otherwise, no, I'm not in favor of any nightclubs or things like that.
Sandra?
I would not call it nightlife. I would like to see that the village has the ability to provide music for the patrons of the restaurants. But nightlife as it is, I would not call it that. I would like to go have dinner and be able to listen to bossa nova or the piano player, like Chris said. But if the inns would not do, I would not approve nothing like a big, huge party till 2, 3 in the morning. We don't want this to be Montauk. We just want the peace and quiet. And most of our residents, by 11, the inns already are done and they want to go to sleep. They're here for that, for the peaceful charm village. They don't come here to party. So I would not call it nightlife, but I would like to see live music or piano players or some type of music in our restaurants.
Rick?
Yeah, well, I think this is where our parties differ quite a bit. Nobody's against a piano player or maybe a guitar player, that sort of thing. And in fact, there's at least one of the inns that still has the ability to do that and has chosen not to do it. I assume it's because they want room for tables for diners. I'm not sure. But, in fact, both of our opponents' parties have called for large gatherings at the inns. And one has said up until 11 o'clock, I think that's far too late. And another has said anywhere from, I've heard, 6 to 12 gatherings with very little regulation. He's said end at 8, then end at 9, then end at 10. So there's been a lot of variation there. I just think the quickest way to deteriorate our residential neighborhoods is to allow too much activity at these pre-existing non-conforming inns. And I just want to say that our opponent likes to say that people who bought houses next to these inns knew what they were buying. Well, the reverse of that is true. The people that bought these inns knew that they were buying a pre-existing non-conforming quaint inn. Now, they used to be owned by people that stayed at the inn. Now they're owned by corporations, and like any business, they want to make money. So I just think it's a matter of how they do it. And first thing with us is to protect our neighborhoods, and that's what we want to do.
Thanks, Rick.
I would like to rebut that. I don't think that.
Has everybody gone yet? I'll just.
No, I haven't gone yet.
Ray hasn't gone and David has.
Okay.
But
I'm not in favor.
You've got the first rebuttal, Sandra.
I'm not in favor of it either. I like it the way it is. I agree. You know, if somebody has a guitar or piano playing, I'm fine with that. But no amplified music. We just don't need it. The residents, they want the quiet, peaceful neighborhood. And if they want the loud stuff, they'll go to Montauk. They'll go to a club. But I don't believe it's any place in East Hampton.
David?
Okay, so you're asking if we should have fun nightlife? That's essentially what you're asking?
Yeah.
And I think one's perception of fun nightlife might differ dramatically depending on how old you are. So, for me, going out to Sam's and having a pizza and a few beers is a kind of a fun nightlife. Others may disagree with that. But, for the longest time, East Hampton has not been home to too many clubs. Years and years ago, you had the Laughing Stock, which is on North Main Street by Oakview Highway. I don't know what it is now. I don't think it's even open. And, years and years ago, up at the Sea Spray Inn, there was Bob Alexander and the the Johnny Carson band that used to go up there. And there's been a history of piano music in like the Hunting Inn that for many years had it, but then they decided to put tables in because tables were more profitable. And yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to cut you off. So, Sandra, I think you were the first person who wanted to rebut somebody about something or clarify something. So go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that the inns are not owned by corporations. Most of these inns are owned, and the people live in the inns, and they're boaters, and they also have a word. Also, they have people sleeping on those inns. They don't want to disturb their guests, and we have code enforcement. If something gets too loud, we can call enforcement or the police, and they'll shut them down. We'll just do bigger fines. We'll do something to deter them for doing anything. But in my house, I can have a party. I can have a party up to 50 people. I can do more noise than an inn can do, and no one is limiting me that. I'm talking about doing weddings or a birthday or a baptism. That's what we're talking about. We're not saying to put a live DJ and become Montauk, because that's not what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you, Sandra.
I'd like to weigh in also.
Okay, David.
Can I weigh in too?
Sure, Chris. I guess mechanically you go first. Chris.
Me?
Yeah, you sure.
Again, this is the great thing about this debate, because there are different parties here with slightly different views. I would like to just say that everyone here, and I know everyone on this call, we all love the village. No one's looking to exploit the village here. And I think that goes for all of us. At least I hope it does. But, for me and my party, I support the inns, and I also support some type of option for them to have weddings and gatherings in a nice way, so that they can contribute to our village and bring some vitality and also some special events that we need here. So again, it's a difference of opinion, but I think we can all agree that we don't all agree. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Chris. Dave?
Okay, so same thing. The Fishhooks party, we'd like to characterize our own opinion. And, we're looking to a rubber stamp family of functions, weddings and such like that, not nightclub type of events with wild DJs and soap bubbles and all that kind of stuff. So to have somebody else characterize it, that's not for us. That's a mischaracterization of what we want.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Can I just weigh in?
Arthur, can I just give you 1 minute here?
By the way, this is what the audience craves. Differences.
Listen, let me just say this.
Waiting to flying off the roof.
I think we all agree that maybe they could have some events. We just disagree on how they could do it. We prefer to do it through special permit, which was always the process in which we can regulate who's having what activities on any given weekend, so that we don't have 5 large weddings on the same weekend. Where would everybody park on Main Street? And as far as a wedding, I don't know any wedding that takes place without some large amplified music, which would tend to really cut into the quality of life of our village residents. And if you want to see real estate prices plummet on Main Street and all that area, wait till you have a lot of loud, rowdy parties and see what happens.
Thanks, Rick.
All right.
Does anybody else want to chime in?
I was going to say the same thing. The Elmer's party, we agree that having a function through a special permit. That way, you can see what's happening, and if they're not crossing over, that it's going to be a disaster for the village.
Our next question is very tender, I guess. It's about the PSEG polls. We think the village was, in fact, notified before the PSEG hearing on higher polls from McGurk Street, but it's very possible that that notice wasn't very clear about what was really intended. However, PSEG paid to bury is not going to pay, we don't think, to bury the wires on the new high poles or to move them to some other street to impact somebody else. Assuming that can't happen, how much should the village pay to bury these lines? And should the village think about issuing bonds to bury all remaining overhead lines in the village for storms and for aesthetics? and maybe add fiber optic cables at the same time. Sandra, do you want to start?
I am in favor of burying the lines, yes. As a number, I would not be able to say. I think it needs to be studied. It needs to be studied to know if the amount of money that's going to cost the village outweighs the positive effects that it's going to be, or the so I do want to bury the lines. Number, I cannot go for it, but I can say that we need to study the situation and try to make this eyesore go away, because that's what it is.
Thank you, Sandra. Rick?
Yeah, I think we all agree that this is not an optimum situation, to say the least. It's a little bit unfair question. I don't mean by you, you're not aware of the background here, Arthur, but we have kind of a gag order on us from the
Oh, I
court.
didn't know
You know,
that.
we're in litigation, so I really can't talk about it. Some of the things that you mentioned have been discussed prior. That's basically all I could say about it. I wish I could say more, but I can tell you that we were actively trying to resolve this for our residents there.
Okay. Rick, I honestly, obviously didn't know about the gag order. Ray, I guess you're under the same
Same thing.
Ray. Okay. David, you're not gagged. I'm not gagged.
No, I'm not gagged. I'm not gagged at all. I'd just like to say, you know, with respect to this has been going on for a very long time. And I think the village, whether they got sandbagged or whether they just missed it, was very late to the game. And the later you get into a game like this, the less strength you have in your position. I think the village viewed this as a neighborhood problem, and it's not a neighborhood problem. An assault on any one of our neighborhoods that attacks the character of the streets is an attack on the village. And we should have been all over this very early. And I think that was a major mistake. Now it's going to be more difficult, but I think we should pursue it. We just, a few months ago, finally hired a consultant. That should have been done way back when.
Could I rebut this, Arthur? Because this is important. That what David just said is absolutely untrue. It's not true at all. We were on it from the beginning. A lot of bureaucracies involved here. Hard to get everybody to agree, but we've been on it from the very beginning, and that's about all I can say about it. But we are working very hard to get it resolved, and have been for some time.
Anybody else want to chime in on this? Or okay. Oh, Chris?
Well, I didn't get to talk yet. So if everyone's done rebutting, I think we've got a couple more people that haven't spoken on this.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know
sorry.
if it's my
I
turn.
realized that after I got too far into this, Chris. So you get the absolute last word, and you also get the chance to rebut anything you want to do.
I can rebut myself. Is it my
You
turn?
can rebut yourself. You can rebut me. No, I'm sorry. It's my own.
So, you know, this is a really hot topic, and one of the more important topics to me is these power lines. And, you know, I don't know exactly what happened because I wasn't on the board, and only I believe Rick was. And again, I'm not here to criticize anybody. I think that the village board was probably doing the best that they could. And you know, we have to fix this. So at the bottom line, you know, this is something that I would like escalated to the top of every agenda of every single board meeting until we have an answer. And I would like to see movement. Now, again, I don't know what are behind the scenes meetings and things that happen in the village that I'm not privy to. But however, again, I would like this addressed immediately every single time. And if it is, I'd like to know about it. As for a dollar figure, I think as much as it takes that we can do. Again, I'm a finance major. I'm very good with numbers, but I don't know the numbers. So I would make it a priority to try to get these lines buried with all the resources that we can and cooperation from the board and the residents. As for the entire village, that would be a great plan if it's feasible. But I think we got to start with one or two streets right now, and we can only move forward. Again, no criticizing people. We just got to move forward with this and fix it. Thanks.
Chris, you actually got rebuttal time too, so you did very well. But again, I apologize for skipping you the first time. Rick, affordable workforce housing. First of all, does the village need more affordable workforce housing? And if so, where would you put it and how would you pay for it?
Yes, it does. We recognize that. We've been working on it. We disagree with the proposal of the Newtown Party that we should put housing up by, next to Mary's Marvelous off of Railroad Avenue. That's a tremendously congested area as it is. On a Friday night when a train comes in, we need 3 police officers just to clear that area out. We don't need any more traffic and congestion up in that area. So we don't agree with that way of moving forward. What we do want to do is give incentives to our businesses to convert maybe office space on their second floors back to workforce housing. And we have started to do that. In fact, we have 2 units that are just now ready to open on Lumber Lane, which we, the village, approved probably a year ago. It's been the county that's slowed that down. So I think once we get the sewage treatment system in, we can work harder on getting second floors converted to workforce housing. And we've already begun with the town. We're in fact about to sign a memorandum with the town to resolve that. All right. Thank you.
Ray, you can pick up.
Okay. I think the sewage treatment is going to be the big key to this because it'll open up. There's a lot of apartments above these stores on Newtown Lane and Main Street that could be used for housing. I think that's a great start right there. It'll certainly open up a lot, and I think that's the way to go.
Okay. David?
I think to assume that private apartment owners or building owners that have apartments available are going to make it available to workforce housing at a reduced price is a long shot. Unless there's some kind of incentive, governmental or federal or otherwise, I don't see that happening. Those apartments will go to the highest bidder. I think it's a good thing to pursue, and I like the thought of it. But it's going to be, we have our hands a little bit tied because we're relying on private homeowners to do something. I agree with Rick that the Newtown Party plan is unworkable. I think the village is fully developed as it is, and I'd be very hesitant to do even a medium to large project where you're going to add, a density to the population that we're already struggling with.
Chris?
Okay, hi. First of all, this Newtown Party was an idea, not so much an implemented plan. Some ideas are good and some ideas are not so good. So again, I like the idea, but I don't want to be categorized as this is my plan. But to go back to the subject, I think Dave mentioned it. You're going to have a hard time getting landlords to construct and build second story masses over their stores already. I mean, we already have a parking issue. There's already a septic issue, and constructing something above this is going to be extremely it's going to weigh very heavy on the village to have a second story put up over something over Main Street. But again, one thing to think about would be maybe we can work with the town on this because there's not a lot of places in the village to put up affordable housing, but there might be alternate locations that we can pay for, we can subsidize, or we can work for an alternate spot. Because again, I don't even know where you would put these things because the village is very saturated. There's not a lot of space left in the village.
Thanks, Chris.
Right.
Andrew?
Yes. I just want to say that I agree with my party about the ideas of workforce housing. Sorry, Spanglish came out. We are talking about ideas of creating new housing by the train station or Mary's Marvelous, but it's a study. It's something to look at. Our ideas to get people and to stay here. The village of no, like always, they hear it, they say no, we cannot do it. There's a train coming. The train is packed. There's a lot of people. Yes, Fridays or Saturdays or Sundays when it's summer. But if you go in the middle of winter, there's not that much traffic. We're talking about year-round residents. We're not talking about persons that are going to come just in the summer. We can make a study and try to get it done. Also, the sewer system, it's super important to be able to accomplish this. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur, can I rebut just 1 minute?
No, I think everybody's gone, right?
Okay.
Rick hasn't gone.
Yeah, I went, but I just want to rebut. I guess somebody didn't hear me. We are already working with the town with this. In fact, as I said, we're about to sign a memorandum of, I can't even remember what it's exactly called now, but we're about to sign a memorandum with the town so that they will manage the program for us. David says it can't be done. Well, it is being done. We already have 2 apartments, as I said, which we approved a year ago. The only holdup was the county. That approval is coming very soon. I just had an inquiry last week about 2 more. Somebody didn't want to do 2 more apartments, so it can be done, and we are doing it. And just
Thanks.
one added thing.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay.
I cut you off.
All right.
I'd like to respond.
Okay.
I think that defies human nature that they're being done. I think it's great that you're doing it. And I encourage those efforts going forward. But I don't think it's going to have a significant impact and provide a significant number of apartments. So I think we need an alternate plan. And I agree with Chris about other than having the housing authority administer something we're doing, we'd like to have a bigger project and identify some housing that we can partner with them on.
Thanks, David. Anybody else want to respond on this one? Okay. Ray, this is an open-ended question.
Oh, great.
What's your approach to public participation in village government?
I'm for it.
How would you do?
One of the things that I would like to see us do and set up here pretty shortly is have maybe a Saturday morning session at Village Hall that the public can come in and you can have a cup of coffee and we can discuss what's happening in the village or what your concerns are. You know, I think that's a great start. So you can hear what the people's concerns are, and maybe we can address them. You know, you might be able to solve something right there at that time. But I think it's needed that the village trustees and the mayor are available to the public, and it's not just during work hours. It's sometime on a weekend or maybe a night session, but should be the public. Thanks,
Ray. David?
Yeah, this is kind of like a pet project with me. I think our public is very, very underutilized. I think we have some of the smartest and most creative people that live in this village, and their opinion counts, and they can help us solve problems, and they almost go untapped. I have a program that I've written about where I've already talked to some clergy leaders, and we want to engage the public in neutral zone where they're comfortable, they're among friends, and you're going to get a much more unvarnished opinion from them than marching down to in front of a microphone at public comment at Village Hall. It's very intimidating for the average person. So we want to engage the people maybe after a service at church and go to each and every of the 5 or 6 churches and synagogues that are here and engage them and get some unvarnished opinions from them.
Thanks, Dave. Chris?
Hi. Well, again, open transparency is vital, and I don't think anyone here disagrees with that. And again, whether it be the village could be present at football games or things that happen at the community, whether it be a booth at the winter fair or just out there with your fellow residents, walking around, talking, getting their advice. I mean, I'm not on the board, but I know Rick and Ray probably can't walk down Main Street without someone grabbing their ear and saying, hey, this is what I've got to say, or this is what's on my mind. So, it's very important for the public officials to just be out there in public, invested in some of the activities and being a part of the community like we all are, but very openly. And so I agree, and I'm open to just about any program that we can do to open up our availability.
Sandra?
I agree with Chris. We should be available for everyone, for all our residents, for the business, for everyone that needs something from the board. And I also agree that we have to have a presence to create more community, to make the village board friendly, more family oriented, so we can get the people. I agree in having meetings outside of the normal hours or being accessible, being part of the community. It is important to have a presence.
Thank you, Sandra. Rick?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said already. And in fact, it's already being done. It's been done since I took office. If anybody remembers the first day that I took office, I made a public statement at our meeting about how my door was going to be open to anybody. Anybody could call me or email me. And that's the way it's been since I've been in office. And I think if you talk to any business owner, you know, and they're honest about it, they would say that they've had total access to me and our board. I think that that's the way it's been, and we will continue to do that as long as I have anything to say about it. I agree with Ray about coffee with the mayor. We were about to start that, and then COVID hit, so we couldn't do that. We are out in the community all the time, and Chris is right. I get stopped all the time on Main Street when I walk with my wife by people who ask questions, just want information or want to know how to go about doing something. And I engage them all the time. I regularly try to see our business owners and try to facilitate whatever it is that they need to help their business.
Rick, rather, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
This starts with Dave. How would you control the tick problem?
The tick problem is a problem. I got a couple of them this year, but I kind of got them because I wasn't taking the proper protective steps. I think it's a difficult problem, obviously. I think that it's incumbent upon the village to put out materials that describe the risks and describe mitigating factors to keep yourself safe. There has to be some sense of personal responsibility. In addition to doing what we can do, and I think public education and public outreach at areas owned by the village that people are going to frequent is important. Signs up, warning them how to mitigate the risk for ticks and that ticks are present. And I think that will reduce the incidence of tick bites. And in addition to that, you know, we can look into some of the other methods to control ticks.
Chris?
All right. So, ticks is a problem. And again, there's a lot of carriers to these ticks. They're not just deer that create these ticks. There's birds and squirrels and the wind and, they're coming there. So I agree with what Dave said is the education. And it's not just the education to the adults, but maybe the children too, because, we could have the schools put out something because kids don't know what to do. And we want to make sure that everyone knows. And whether you're in kindergarten or you're a grown adult, you should be able to be educated enough to know where the ticks are more populated. And again, signs in public places like Dave just mentioned. I think we might have some, I'm not too sure, but this is a coordinated effort with the town as well, because we're not just the village. We are, the village lies within the town and we're surrounded by the town. And this is a problem that we have to attack with them together. And I think we can do that. But again, it's a coordinated effort. And I think we have got some very talented people that have some great ideas.
Andrew?
Yes, I believe in education, and also I believe that we as the village board should take the steps to mitigate, but it has, like Chris said, has to be coordinated with the town. We can get rid of all the ticks in the village, but if the town is full of ticks, we're going to get them back again. So yes, education and mitigation, both of them. Thank you.
Rick?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, and we do coordinate with the town when we can. They chose not to sign on to a deer program that we had a few years ago, but we have started a new one, which I think is even more successful and a whole lot less money. We have hired a group called Woods and Waves, who manages our deer population here in the village by using expert bow hunters. They're all registered hunters. They've all been checked out by this company. And the difference, we've always done bow hunting in the village for years and years and years on properties that were big enough to accommodate it. So the difference with this is this company keeps track of everything for us. And at the end of the season, they can tell us how many deer were taken, where, and the condition of the deer, that sort of thing. And I think so far, we've only done it for 1 year. It looks like it's going to be a success. A couple other jurisdictions have tried it, like Sagaponack, North Haven, and they're very happy with it. So I think we're going to continue with that.
Ray?
I'm going to be the first one to say that I agree with everyone that has spoken so far.
Thank you. This is our last question, and that is, I guess we'll start with Chris. We obviously have some tables now outside in the village, and we have parking spaces in front of the tables that have been cut off. New York City has gone one further step, where we have cones, they have a barrier, and they have tables in the parking space. Would you be in favor of something like that? Or even more basic, would you be in favor of keeping the system we have now?
Okay, well, the first step is I'm very excited that we have outdoor dining. Unfortunately, it's through the process of the coronavirus. So that being said, I am not in favor of putting tables in the street or the parking lot. I think that's very dangerous. And that's just, for me, that's absolute no. However, if you look at some of the other towns and villages around us, they don't block all of the parking adjacent to the tables. Again, that's something to look at. I also think that maybe these placement of the chairs and the tables could be modified or at least looked at. I'm very happy that the village has done what they've done for some of these stores right now and these restaurants. However, there might be a couple more that are interested in participating. Again, I'm not sure. I'm not on the board right now, but the quick answer is yes, I'm very in favor of outdoor dining, and I have been in favor from the time I've been in this campaign, and I'm not in favor of them being put in the street at all.
Sandra?
Yes, since we started this campaign, we've been advocating for the use of the sidewalks, or not the sidewalk, the brick part of the sidewalks to put on tables. We're happy that we have them. We're sad the manner it came to be, but I think it needs tweaking so it can look better. But in the sense of the street, I would not put them there. I don't think it's safe, and I think in the places that they have done it, they have closed part of the street, and that would bring more congestion, or it would be a disservice to the residents in the way we're gonna make them have trouble in the traffic congestion.
Thank you, Sandra. Rick?
I agree with what's been said, and I agree with the outside dining. I think it adds another dimension to the village. I think there's a lot more activity as a result of it. The way it was set up was done by committee. I appointed a committee of 2 village board members. Ray happens to be one of them. And they met with a committee of restaurateurs and business owners. And this was what was discussed, and this was what was decided. I was able to do it by executive order to be able to piggyback on the governor's executive order. That this will be good through November. I'm looking forward to having discussions about it this fall and winter to codify it for the spring. I think it's a big success. The issue is, can we get those parking spots back safely? And that's what we're going to discuss this winter. And I think that it can be done, and I'd like it to continue.
Ray?
Rick is correct. I was part of that board that met and came up with this plan for the outdoor dining. We did need to take the parking spots because of the COVID. The tables had to be 6 feet off of the sidewalk, which put them very close to, if a car door opened, it was going to be banging into the people sitting at the table. So we had to do it, take those parking spots. If COVID happens to go away, we can move the tables closer to the sidewalk because people would still get by. We wouldn't have the 6 feet of separation. I'm not for putting the tables out in the street. I don't know if you saw the news. I think it was a week ago in Manhattan. There was a car accident, and it went through the barrier that they put up and hit 2 pedestrians. So when we were doing it, it was all about safety for the people that are going to be enjoying it. but I am certainly in favor of the outdoor dining.
David, you get the last word here.
Okay. So I agree that stuff should not be in the street. They shouldn't be building late kiosks in the street. I think there's plenty of room on those brick walks. I think it's an inviting look. I think it invigorates the village, and I like the look of it. I was never one that thought the public sidewalks were sacred ground that couldn't be touched, and it seems like some people held that view on a number of different items. So I think we should be keeping the system. I do think it needs tweaking, and we have some work to do, but I'm 100% for codification, and I'm sure we're going to get that done.
Well, thanks, everybody. I think it does make a lot of.
Can I just say one thing? The sidewalks need to be kept clear for ADA.
Okay.
You have to have the sidewalks clear. We've been through this when Dave Rose and I were on the committee, and we went over this 1,000 times to make sure that everyone was safe and that, ADA people could pass by. So it's been looked at, and I think we did a pretty good job.
I think people.
I think you did a very good job, but we still have some tweaking to do. As you said yourself, we want to move those tables. Once the COVID passes, we may take a fresh look at it. But I think you did a great job, and I really like the result.
Great. That's.
Could I also just say I would like to agree with Dave and thank Ray and Rick for allowing this to happen and putting this together so fast, because the outdoor dining has been a big hit. Everyone likes it, including myself. And I think it was a long time. And unfortunately, it was from Corona, but it's a big success. So they did a good job.
Okay, we better stop before anybody says anything bad. I mean, this is very much appreciate everybody for interrupting, but not monopolizing anything. And Chris, do you want to sum up first? We're going to go through 1 minute of each person's summary, and then we're all set.
Got to go first. Okay, well, I'd like to say, Arthur, thank you so much for having me and cooperating with my time schedule. I'm a privilege to be up here. I think that it's wonderful for East Hampton Village to have so many people interested that care so much about East Hampton Village, and it's only good for everybody. The real winner here is going to be the residents of East Hampton Village, and I wish everyone the best of luck. I consider you all my friends. I know that the election campaign gets a little dicey here, but I'm looking forward to moving past the next couple of weeks and seeing you all about. And I wish you all luck. I'd like to say to all the people out there that I'm going to do my best, and I hope you vote for me. So thank you.
Okay, sure. Sandra?
Yes, I want to say thank you for having me. I also want to say that as a Latina woman, mother, wife, business owner, I can provide the fresh perspective that this board needs. I can serve as a liaison for the Hispanic community, and this community is growing every day, every year, bigger and bigger. I know I can be a good candidate for trustee because I have the skill sets that I need for this position. Together with Jerry and Chris, I think we will work hard to get the residents and business owners back to the sense of community that I think has been lacking for the years that has passed. This village is very special to me. Its beauty, its beaches, its peacefulness, and we will work hard to just keep it that way and make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Rick?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this, Arthur, and thank you to my fellow candidates for participating. I think this was very informative, and I think it was great that village voters and residents get to see how each one of us feels about our village that we love so much. I think the big difference here, the big takeaway is our difference between how to handle events occurring at the pre-existing non-conforming use. I personally believe that the special permit is the way to go, which is the way that we have handled it. It's the only way to regulate successfully, so that we know exactly how many people there are going to be, what parking issues there will be, what noise issues there will be, and those sorts of things. And I think that we can get this done very in the near future and work something out so that everybody is happy with it. And I just like to say, vote for the Elms Party on September 15th. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay, I wanted to say in my introduction that I've served many years in the fire department in East Hampton. I'm an ex-chief, I'm a 21-year active member. I'm also a deputy coordinator for the 9th Division of Suffolk County. So I have plenty of leadership skills to do the job. I also want to say that Rick and Barbara have such experience on this board that it's unmatched. If the election goes a certain way, the longest tenured person on the village board could be 3 years. So it would be a very young board. It might not be a great thing. Like everyone else, you know, I'm friends with everybody here on the board, on the panel. So thank you to them. Thank you to you, Arthur. And everyone, please get out and vote on September 15th.
Okay, thank you. Dave, you're the last person to sum up.
Okay. I just want to clarify something that Rick might have given the wrong impression. I'm not for the overlay district concept. I think uniform regulation can be realized through the special permit process. So I just want to make that clear. Sure. So I hope you got a feel tonight on our different approaches to governance. I believe in a strong collaborative government with the community as a critical partner, very much the sixth member of the board. We plan to introduce programs and processes to help ensure a more efficient and responsive government. I don't have all the solutions, not by a long shot, but I know how to approach complex problems. I have a lot of experience along those lines. I know what questions to ask. I know how to critically analyze an issue, and I know how to execute a plan. I believe I have the skills to be an effective trustee and intend to be thoughtful, deliberative, and measured in planning and decision-making. We are entering uncharted waters with the economic fallout from the pandemic very much in question. We must plan for the worst and hope for the best. One thing for sure, mature, responsible governance will be critical, and fiscal prudence will be the watchword as we move forward.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. This has really been, to me, if nothing else, to me, it's been very informative. And I think all of you are really a credit to the village for having people so interested, pretty much not quibbling about major issues, but really with the village's future well-being at heart. I'll put in a last plug for our brochure, which you can download at your convenience. It gives you more background about each of the candidates. And again, thank you each of the candidates for participating, and thank you all for viewing and watching this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.